DDG, episode 41. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
How's it going, Dave? How's it going? We just had a little conversation before this, so I think we're both of us a little tired today, but we still got plenty of stuff to talk about.
Yeah. Long week for me, post-vacation week at work, and then getting ready to take my daughter down to school, so down to Kentucky later this week.
And I was going to come back to work from furlough, and then some riots broke out. So,
Chicago did Chicago. So.
Yep.
So, all right, we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that post every Thursday. Early access Patreon subscribers get the show on Wednesday at 6 a.m. on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on what service you use. We talk about all things gaming, and I now actually own way more platforms than I did 9 months ago for gaming.
Yeah, so you had a big week.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. And we've got some other things to talk about that tie into that as well. So, but as always, like we say, if this is your first time listening to us, thank you for finding us somehow. I would love to hear how you found us, whether you found us by searching or from a friend or anything. So if you want to let us know, whether you comment on the YouTube or on Twitch or on Twitter, Facebook group, all that stuff, all those social links are linked in the show notes below. Or you can just go to our website, digitaldaysgaming.com. And like all that's on the website is the podcast feed, as well as links to the social stuff: Patreon, Twitch, Twitter, all the things that I just mentioned. So, and if you do want to support us on Patreon, that's very easy to do. Just patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming is one way you can support us direct financially. And then we're going to work on it this week. I got an email from them because I know we have a lot of international listeners. They are actually doing stuff in non-U.S. funds now, so I'll have to set that up, and so you can pay. I don't know if it converted or because I've never accessed it from outside of the country, outside of the U.S. So if that's something that's been holding you guys up from you supporting us on Patreon, please let us know, and I will take care of it faster. But it will be taken care of within this week, more than likely. I don't know 100% what that does or doesn't mean, but I've already spent more time talking about Patreon than I want to. So. And then again, we live stream the show on Twitch, twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming, where we are an affiliated Twitch channel. So if you would like to support us through that, you can link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account if you have one, and you get a free subscription. Or you can just do tier subs to us as well if you'd like. That would always be appreciated. And any support that we get from you guys is great. But the biggest thing that you could help us with is just sharing the show. Retweets on on Twitter, shares on Facebook, sharing the whole post, and just telling people about it and reviewing it if at all possible. It's been a little while since we had a review, so we would love to see a review pop up on there, whether it's Google Play, iTunes, Podcast Addict, and I think shortly, within the next month, our show might show up on an Amazon service based on the email we got. So
I'll
we're still figuring that out.
The terms of service and the EULA and all that stuff, and see if that's going to happen.
Yeah, so we got some email about something. I think Amazon, I know, like, has a Prime service, so I'd be curious, like, if our show could be like streamed on the TV, like audio only or something. That'd be kind of cool. I know you can do that through Spotify, like on PlayStation. Yeah. So
well, sounds like it's coming to Audible and Amazon Music, so I'm sure you could do that.
Okay, cool. All right, so we are going to get into it, and this is an interesting article that I actually thought would get more traction in our community this week than it has, but I'm sure that Michael and I will have some pretty interesting things to say about it. I know I will. So.
Yeah, this is just the classic. Apple is kind of on their bullshit, but this is what makes Apple Apple. Xbox, I believe, were the ones that came out, and because a lot of people were asking about like when is Xcloud coming out on iOS? Because currently the beta has only been Android. All the plans as of this moment are for an Android release in the coming month, and
September 15th, I think.
Yeah, September 15th. Yeah.
And it was working on Apple, like certain games. Like I think the Halo Master Chief Collection.
It was only the Master Chief Collection. There was no other games you can play.
Right.
So people were like, "When is it coming?" xCloud, especially now that it's part of Ultimate Game Pass, like all that stuff. When is it coming to iOS? And the answer is maybe never, because Apple is blocking it because they say, due to their iOS guidelines, services like Xcloud and Stadia aren't allowed on their platforms. So the quote that Apple gave to Technica and multiple other outlets, they kind of just did the general, like, here's our stance on it, deal with it. it goes as follows. The App Store was created to be a safe and trusted place for customers to discover and download apps, and a great business opportunity for all developers. Before they go on our store, all apps are reviewed against the same set of guidelines that are intended to protect customers and provide a fair and level playing field to developers. Our customers enjoy great apps and games from millions of developers, and gaming services can absolutely launch on the App Store as long as they follow the same set of guidelines applicable to all developers, including submitting games individually for review and appearing in charts and search. In addition to the App Store, developers can choose to reach all iPhone and iPad users over the web through Safari and other browsers on the App Store. So the long story is, the long story short is, Apple says you need to submit everything individually to them so then they can verify it. And that makes sense to a certain point, but then when you look at Netflix and Disney Plus and all the other streaming services, there's no way they're submitting every individual episode and movie and TV show to Apple. The reason the Netflix and Disney Plus and all the other streaming services are allowed on there is because if you subscribe through iOS to Netflix, you're giving 30% of that subscription price to Apple. So Apple gets a chunk of that because it has to go through the Apple filter. Second, video games are held at a weird standard, so they're not being treated the same way as a movie or TV show. So Apple
it's technically controllable content.
Yeah. So I get the stance from Apple from at that point, but also Apple does have a competing service. They have the Apple Arcade, which is a subscription service where you get a bunch of games, but all those games could be bought individually. So Apple's stance on this, which is really shitty, is those games need to be individually available on the App Store, which makes no sense because that's not the point of the streaming service. But I think what it comes down to is they'll let this happen if they get their cut. They want their cut. And specifically, too, a lot of the games that are going to be on Xcloud, not a lot of them, but there's a lot of games that have microtransactions attached. I'm assuming you will be able to purchase through Xcloud, and that's a second layer of money that Apple would want to be a part of. It's not only getting that subscription cut, but any microtransaction that happened there, they want that cut as well. So this is going to be a big thing in terms of the work Microsoft would have to put into it to let Apple in on their ecosystem twice. Once for the subscription,
the return on investment. The return on investment for Microsoft just isn't there, and it just goes to show you how much that Apple is charging. Whether they're afraid of the competition or not afraid of the competition, this is Apple being Apple, and this is how Apple has functioned since it was created. Like, it's our way or the highway, and if you don't like it, the door is that way. And it sucks, and everybody can sit there and say that Microsoft should just do better, and it's like Microsoft is the return on investment not being there, because I'm sure they've ran the numbers, is 100% true, because iPhone dominates the cell phone market. I mean, I don't know if it dominates
to
it,
put in perspective,
it's significant.
In 2019, the Apple revenue from just their cut was $15 billion, just from the cut they make of all the transactions that happen on their store. So it's Microsoft
is definitely walking away from a potential huge chunk of money, and it's it's interesting because it has to be like to where they're like putting this on there. Even I think Microsoft would even put this on there if they were going to break even, just to be there.
But also, like, this has been a thing that we've talked about a lot, in terms of how much money they're actually making from Game Pass, like getting all those games on their service day one that aren't their first party games. Building that library costs them a lot of money, and you wonder how much they're actually profiting from Game Pass. So the idea that Apple will then take 30% of that and then take 30% off of whatever microtransactions happen that math does not work out for Microsoft. I think it's really shitty that Apple is gatekeeping, and then they're basically, the fact that Apple's trying to do this is like, we're doing this for the consumer, and it's like, no, you're not. You're doing this because you want to make as much money as possible, but also at the same time, I'm going to contradict myself, it's their platform. It's,
Yeah, no, I mean, and this is how they've always been, because I could already see this. Like, so since they've started like within the last week with all like, the Xcloud, I think getting officially dated. Like, I think we always knew it was coming in September, but I feel like this is the first time we heard September 15th. And so then it opened up a lot of stuff where I've seen a lot more advertisements. Xbox YouTube channel had like, how are you going to play games on your phone? And they showed all these controllers, like this Razer controller, and it all uses like USB-C connections. Like, I'm sure these are all conversations that have been happening over a while. And this would, this is a huge missed opportunity for Apple as well, because people would have to, companies would, if this was functioning on there on iOS, companies would pay for a controller that can snap onto your iPhone. And in order for it to snap onto your iPhone, it has to have a Lightning connector, which means you have to, more than likely pay Apple for the tech, or for the knowledge, the licensing or the connectivity, just for it to work. Yes, you can probably make a Lightning connector, but in order for you to make sure it works correctly,
it's got to be approved by Apple. You got to get certified by Apple. And
versus just it being a USB-C connection like it is on some of the Android phones. But and a couple people in chat, like Apple's always been a closed ecosystem, and yes, I mean they've started to open up a little bit more as Android has started to push on them. But I mean, even little things like looking at, like, I look at our data, like this is a huge market. Just talking about DDG download numbers,
it's 56%.
iTunes is it's 56%. So like over half of our listeners are listening on an Apple device, and
there's no platform that's above like 10%, like the competing platform. It's 56, and then it's a bunch of 5s, all on Android, but it's spread out through like.
So this
20 or 30
cost,
services.
This cost to submit games, like it's got to be astronomical, like just because Microsoft's been very, very, very pro-consumer, and I would think that they would want to do something on Apple devices, and this is Apple like pushing on them really hard. I think that eventually within the next year or so, as Xcloud gains traction, I think you're going to start to see like Apple is going to have to pay attention to it, and because I think that they'll have to pay more attention to it, because I have a very strong feeling that Xcloud will be way more successful than Stadia. Way more successful than Stadia.
Oh, no, it will, because it's already on more platforms. It already has more games, a better library, a reputation, a brand name. But at least this is going to open a door. Like, Samsung already struck a deal with Microsoft where like they're going to do some stuff with Xcloud and Ultimate for like the new Samsung phones and tablets. It sucks that this is going to close out a certain amount of community for this, but realistically, you can get a 7-inch Samsung tablet, like a basic one that can run Xcloud for like $120. Mm-hmm. Like the cost isn't that crazy if you're an iOS user and you really want to play Xcloud, and you want to play it on your phone or a tablet. You can buy a cheap Android tablet that can run it. Mm-hmm. Without having to like invest in like the Apple ecosystem further.
I'm just hoping that we see some apps, like a Fire Stick app or a Roku app, or smart apps like on like I guess I don't expect to see that in September, but I would hope to see that within 6 months of launch.
Yeah, I feel like that would be like a Xbox event announcement sort of thing. Of just, like an E3 or whatever they do. Like if at the Game Awards in December, whatever those look like, they're like now Chromecast compatible or HDMI out. Because I know when I had Xcloud and I tried to run it HDMI out, it wasn't working. Like it wouldn't let me do it. So hopefully they can add that stuff. But this is probably going to lead to a big market. Like Samsung does have the exclusivity kind of, but they have like a feature for it, but like it's going to be available on multiple devices. Mm-hmm. So I guess Android people win this way, but
yeah, I guess the biggest thing is like, it's a big deal because Apple is such a dominant in the mobile field, but I mean, do you see? Okay, so you and I both have Android phones. I switched to Android a couple years ago when iPhone got rid of their headphone jack. Like, I just wasn't really ready to make the full switch to wireless, and I ended up starting to pick up the Galaxy like 7, and now I have like the 9 Plus, I think. Could you see yourself primarily playing your Xcloud games on your phone, or would it just be one of those things where hey, I'm almost done with this, or you're watching the White Sox, or you're watching the Bulls play, and you're just kind of putzing on your phone, like doing some mindless grinding in a game you enjoy playing, like an RPG you enjoy playing, and just letting it kind of function like that?
Not really. So I have Xcloud now, or at least I'll have it until like the end of the month, when then I'll have to start paying for it. And for the most part, it's just those rare situations where I just have a gap of time and I'm nowhere near a console or anything to play. Because, like, if I'm watching the White Sox and I really want to play a baseball game, my living room's set up to where I could just go over to my desk and then still watch the living room TV. Ideally, what I would want to do, which is what I'm probably going to do, is right now I have a crappy Amazon tablet that can't run Xcloud unless they patch it, which I don't think they will, because it's like the very baseline one. I can see myself buying like $120, $150 Samsung tablet and just keeping that in my backpack with a DualShock. Or specifically getting that mini DualShock that PlayStation was selling not too far long ago, but I don't know if that's Bluetooth. If that turns out to be Bluetooth, then I can totally see, because I walk around with a backpack. I'm that type of person. I always have a backpack. I can see throwing a tablet and like a small Bluetooth controller in my bag and just having it for whenever. And I won't feel as bad as if the Switch breaks, which is why I don't really carry my Switch outside my house, because Switch's save system's all messed up. So if something happens to my Switch, I'm kind of screwed.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I just see it as like an additional layer. So that's why I don't think that I don't think, and I guess I absolutely could be wrong, but I don't think somebody is going that's an iPhone user or iPad owner that a week ago was like, I can't wait to buy Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, and doesn't own a PC, doesn't own an Xbox One. Like, I don't see that market yet, and that's why I think that this will catch momentum over the next 6 to 12 months, of where you could where it could be a $15 service that you don't have to own a console. But I don't think, and I think by then, like when Microsoft can go to Apple and say, look at how many people are on Android, look at what you're missing, like, let's make a deal. I think when Microsoft can show Apple this works, like, and we're this is what's happening, that's when the two of them will have to come together and make a deal, and that would be within the first 6 to 12 months, I think. Yeah,
it would have to. Xcloud will have to become kind of a big thing for Apple to be the one that's like, okay, we need to get it. Or if Samsung does really well with like Xcloud, that they're like, if Xcloud can become synonymous with the Samsung brand or Android in general, then that can definitely open the window. But like you said, I think I'm more interested to see if they can somehow get it running on Roku's or Amazon, or like the Fire Stick. I think that will be the huge thing. And I think that would then force Apple to be like, shit, we need this on Apple TV. Like, we need this.
Yeah. Because I don't feel like there's anything on Game Pass that I would consider even to be mobile built. Like, even when we had the Vita, like the Vita, the PlayStation Vita, like the games were built to play. Most games were built that you could play in small chunks. Like, you could play something for 10 or 12 minutes and feel like you accomplished something, just like mobile games are now. But I mean, I've even thought to my head, like, like I said, I've been looking at controllers, or even like you looking at a tablet. Like, do I take it to work? And like, I eat, I'm warming up my food in the microwave for my lunch break. Do I prop the tablet up and eat and play how long is it going to take? As an example, how long would it take me to boot up Destiny and go pick up some bounties and go do some mindless stuff? Do I have enough time on my lunch to do that and eat? Like, and I drive everywhere. You use public transportation, or you walk. So like, you have more time to do something like that, to where maybe you're on a bus or a subway or a metro for 20-30 minutes on your way from point A to point B, to where you could do something like that. I'm not in that situation. So even I played the Switch a lot coming home from Virginia, and I was having fun with that, but I wasn't driving. So, and I could see myself, but then I don't know, like, at least with the Switch, I put a cartridge in, or I have a game downloaded, and I can just play it. I have direct connect to it. With Xcloud, it would be connection based. Obviously, it's like, would Gears 5 run well on 5G? I don't know.
Yes, it will. It'll run really well on 4G and 5G.
Okay. While you're playing with a friend? and like talking to them on Discord? Okay.
Yeah, 5G and 4G, it works really well. But again, when you're traveling, like in the car, your cell signal will drop a little bit, and you'll start to see like the pixelation and all that stuff. To me, like I think the tablet is a perfect scenario, just because like there's no way I can see myself like on the bus or on the train busting out my controller and then propping it up, because like you said, there are no games that are built for like the mobile experience, and like in terms of bite-sized games, there are some, but this is really the scenario for vacations, or you're just on a family trip, or you just really want to jump back into games, and like this is a great way to do it.
Yeah.
But will the consumer that wants to jump into games even know this exists?
Right.
And now that
it's like we've always talked about with Stadia, can I throw a Chromecast and a Stadia controller in my bag and go to my parents' house so I don't have to haul my console with me? And will it, in what I hope Xcloud and it does in that situation, like that'd be really great, because even you can buy USB-C to HDMI cables that you might be able to plug your tablet into I could plug my tablet into my parents' television and still technically be playing through my tablet, but seeing the image on the screen. What the on the TV, what the latency will be or won't be with that, I don't know. But if that works to where, like you said, I can spend $120 on a tablet or on a device even that maybe isn't that great, but I can get that cable that I can connect it to a TV. When you're somewhere else, if you travel a lot, if you're a truck driver, you're at a hotel, like I could totally see this being a viable platform, especially if you play a game that's on there. Like if you're a huge Halo fan and you like to play Halo multiplayer, or Halo Infinite's multiplayer turns out to be really good, and you're going to hotels and stuff, that you just bring your tablet, plug it into your TV, and play your 5 or 6 matches of Halo, every week.
Yeah. I think the big thing, the thing that will make Xcloud really stand out is, I think CES was already canceled for next year, but I'm sure there'll be a replacement for it. Whichever TV manufacturer they line up with, I think that's going to be huge. Because I don't think there's any, like I have a TCL Roku Series 6. It's from 2019. The 2019 model, I think, was Series 6. That probably can't run Xcloud. Like, it just doesn't have the processing power to stream that with the mountain latency required. But if next year they make a deal with Samsung, they're like, hey, every Samsung TV, just like PlayStation tried to do with PlayStation Now, but PlayStation Now just wasn't a great service.
Every Samsung TV comes with an Xbox One controller.
Xbox One controller, and it comes with a free month of Game Pass Ultimate. And I think that's more powerful, especially on your TV. There's not a ton of apps. Most of the time on your phone, at least Android, I don't get apps advertised to me unless I go into the App Store. So I would have no idea Xcloud exists unless I happen to be in the gaming section of the Android store.
Right.
On the TV, at least TCL, they advertise apps, because they have certain spots on your TV that are like, fill this with an app, and they'll recommend stuff. If I get a Samsung TV next year and it says, try Xcloud, that might be the thing that takes it over the edge, and that will probably bring Apple in, is if people are like, holy shit, I didn't know I can play all these video games on here, and my TV came with an Xbox controller anyways. That could be the thing that takes them over the top. Right now, just it being available on phones and tablets, I don't think that's going to be as big as people want it to be.
Right.
Until they get that ease of TV use. You would probably be paying Stadia more if you can play it on your TV.
Yeah.
Better.
I probably would be subscribed to Stadia Pro if I could play it on my TV. If I take my Xbox controller or my DualShock and hook it up to my television via Bluetooth or even via wired connection, and I could just play, I probably would be invested in the Stadia ecosystem.
Yeah.
Even if it just ends up being a games as a service mechanism. I think that you're going to start seeing more of these games as service games show up on these streaming services, these Xclouds, the Stadias of the world, because it's more important for them to get the seasonal content from you, to get the $10 every 3 months from you, than to get the $60 off the bat. I'm actually really surprised that Activision hasn't delved into this a little bit more. I think Activision Blizzard, I think Overwatch is a great game to be offered as part of a streaming service right now. Mm-hmm. But, because of how they make money.
Yeah. Just imagine how much money Microsoft could make by getting people locked into Ultimate, and then the Master Chief Collection, or not the Master Chief, Halo Infinite's multiplayer.
Takes off.
And then get them in then get them into microtransactions on top of getting them on Game Pass Ultimate. Like that,
Right.
that is a huge potential revenue stream, which will then probably move them away from the hardware business, and they just go back to being software, what Microsoft's known for. So yeah, I'm sure this will be resolved by next year in terms of them being on iOS. All right, let's move on to the next story. We talked about this a little bit ago. It leaked, and we were just...
I'm just finally glad that we have some kind of answer.
Right. So Rocksteady revealed, kind of in a uncelebratory way...
Terrible.
They just dropped an image of Bizarro Superman or Red Kryptonite Superman, and it had Suicide Squad with a target on his back. So that confirms that Rocksteady is making a Suicide Squad game, and we will find out more trailer gameplay probably, hopefully, at the DC Fandom event later this month. But we were talking about this, and we were Dave, I believe, was hoping that this wouldn't be the case, that Rocksteady would be working on a Suicide Squad game. I also was kind of on there. I kind of pitched myself into probably future disappointment. For how I feel like
I think you're more invested into this genre or character style than I am. I don't know enough about the Suicide Squad to really be like, hey, this has potential. And I think you're looking at the ceiling, and I don't think they're going to be at the ceiling.
Yeah. So so just to explain, I'm not a Suicide Squad fan. I think it's actually kind of a dumb concept, just because I like all the characters individually, but the idea that there's a lot of stupid characters in Suicide Squad, like Boomerang, Harley Quinn, good individual characters, but the idea that you get a bunch of very non-super heroes together in a group to then take on actual superheroes, to me, is like a flawed concept.
They're like the island of misfit toys.
Yeah, basically. And so the idea of playing as a Suicide Squad game and knowing that what the story is hinting at just doesn't make sense for me. I feel like the idea that the Suicide Squad would be able to take down Bizarro, who is, like an alternate version of Superman, or like an alien version of Superman, or alien.
And it's who we think is in this picture, right?
Yeah. So all we know is that is Superman, but he's got like a purplish kind of red look to it, and Bizarro has purplish skin, and his face is cracking as well. So that is likely Bizarro Superman. It also could be Red Kryptonite, under Superman under the Red Kryptonite, which is that Kryptonite basically takes away his conscious, his moral compass gets taken away when he has Red Kryptonite in his blood, or he's wearing it. So it's either Bizarro or it's Clark Kent Superman under the influence of Red Kryptonite, which they could do a really cool story with it, because Suicide Squad's whole premise is the government makes this team of prisoners to then do their bidding. So the idea that maybe the government was doing something that caused Superman to be Red Superman, and then they call in a Suicide Squad to take him out because they can't be seen fighting Superman. I like that idea. Will they do that? Who knows? That's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'm trying to pitch myself into liking this. But yeah, it's at least confirmed that it's the Suicide Squad, which I trust Rocksteady from a gameplay standpoint. I just don't know what the story will be like, if they can justify doing this story or doing this cast of characters. I know you have some thoughts just on the idea of a AAA Suicide Squad game.
Yeah, I don't think that the Suicide Squad carries the cachet to we've talked about all the time, like the rumored of a Ninja Turtle franchise that they were doing, or the rumor of a Superman thing that they were doing. I think that if this image that was leaked on Twitter ends up being the image that is on the box art as an example, that's not going to draw anybody's attention. The basic fan is, if you walk by the Superman logo, like we always talked about Spider-Man, Superman, Batman. If you walk by a Suicide Squad logo, I don't think that the majority of people are going to know what it is.
Also, grandma isn't going to buy that at Christmas.
Right. So I think that in terms of that cachet. However, I do think that Rocksteady, based on their relationship with DC, that DC allowed them to make a comic villain with Arkham Knight. So that DC has enough comfort level with this studio to create a new villain, which I believe has appeared in the comics since his creation in the Batman world. Correct?
Yes. Yeah. He now is like a character, basically now.
And then the other concern is, like it's being brought up in chat as well, that I saw when I first saw this, is that, and most of you guys know me, I'm a very big advocate for this. I've been a defender of Destiny. I've been a defender of what Division has attempted to do. I was trying to get into Anthem. The rumors are that this could be a game as a service. And I don't want that.
Yeah, so I can see, like, it has to be a co-op game, just because the Suicide Squad is a group of a bunch of different heroes. I just don't know, like, from a comic perspective, we already know the villain is going to be some sort of Superman. It's going to be the Bizarro, Red Kryptonite Superman. And I don't know how you even do a games as a service game, because when you tell me games as a service game, I almost look at Avengers like that, Destiny like that. Yep. They usually require a lot of grinding to where you're just beating, like, putties, like you're just beating mindless enemies.
Trash ads.
So. Yeah. Yep. Like all the Marvel movies, they're always like some undescript villain creatures that you fight. And I just don't see a world where you can have a Suicide Squad game built. Well,
there's also not enough depth in the Suicide Squad characters to do that. Like, if Batman's game was a game as a service, like, you could be upgrading his abilities, you could be upgrading his Batcave, you could be upgrading his weapons and all the gear and everything he has. Same thing with Superman. Not necessarily his abilities, but you could be upgrading some of his gear, like Harley Quinn and Deadshot. Like, there's not a huge, like, upgrade path or
Harley Quinn you can do some stuff with, like she has different weapons she can use.
2 years.
Oh no. So there's a lot of members of the Suicide Squad. They can do like,
but they would have to delay the content, and that would piss people off as well. As if all of a sudden, like, every season, which is what this would have to be, would be a seasonal content game. Every season you add a new character, and I'm sure you and I are gonna have a conversation about Avengers a little bit. Like, I don't know if that's enough. Like, I don't, in terms of like the way that you would build your game.
I think you would have to start with, like, the core group that everyone knows. They'll probably have to base it off, like, the movie characters, not the design. Hopefully not. They'll have to, like, pull that roster, which is what? Rick Flag, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Boomerang, and, like, 2 other characters. So you can do that for the start, just like the Avengers game's doing, and then you start adding people in. The only problem with that is the Suicide Squad is all the D-list villains. Yeah. So how much excitement is there going to be for who's the one that they killed instantly in the Suicide Slipknot? Like, is there going to be excitement when they're like introducing the guy who's good with ropes? Like,
right. Yeah, no. Unless the only thing too is that if for some reason in this game they're able to create a new character completely from the ground up for this game that is like you're trying to become part of the Suicide Squad, and that's kind of like as like the pitch to the game as a service in the season, the quote unquote initial campaign is a brand new character.
I don't think they necessarily have to worry about like making a new character, because there's probably enough you can do and upgrade. I'm just thinking of just like the content that you would be doing, not necessarily the rewards for doing it. I'm thinking about just the actual acts you will be doing to do this as a games as a service, which is why I'm hoping it's not, that it's not games as a service. I'm hoping at the most it's co-op with cosmetics.
Right.
Because I don't see a long tail on this.
I don't either, but I also don't see a long tail on Avengers. But I guess my question to you is, do you think that this is next gen only?
I think so. I think this would be next gen only. I think
because that would mean the
can
first,
do what they want.
Right. But this would also be the first major title that wouldn't be coming to Xbox One.
Godfall.
I said major title.
Yeah. Well, no, remember, the rule is it's up to the studios if they want it to be exclusive for the Series X.
I know. I'm just saying, like, I didn't realize it until until like this was hitting Twitter. Like, this has been, like, Rocksteady's been quiet for almost 5 years. Mm-hmm. Other than the Batman VR experience for PlayStation.
Yeah.
So they've been working on this for a long time. I think it's going to be both. I don't think it's going to be next gen only.
It depends on how soon it comes out. If they say holiday 2021, then it's probably next gen only. If they say out this holiday or out in March, which they could do since they've been working on it for so long. They can easily just be like, hey, it's out in a month, you know? So they could do that, and it totally would make sense for it to be on everything. I think it depends on the release date. If I say if it's holiday 2021, then it's going to be next gen only. If they say March or this holiday, then it's going to be on everything.
Do you see us or the players like going after like the Flash or Arrow, like as like seasonal type, quote unquote villains?
Well, Glorious War in the chat mentions like the Justice League could be the raid bosses, which I guess would make sense, like as they're moving on. But then again, I think that complicates the story in terms of just like they're advertising Bizarro Superman or Red Kryptonite Superman, whatever. I'm gonna keep saying that. So that's your major boss, and he's under the influence of evilness. They would then have to find a way to justify turning the Flash evil, turning Batman evil, and constantly have to do that. And I feel like that would get tired after a little bit of just like, oh, okay, how did they make the Flash be a bad guy? Unless they go completely alternate universe, which DC would be fine with. Also, AT&T just destroyed DC Comics today. So we'll see like how free reign they end up with, because there's no one to answer to at DC Comics anymore. So I guess they can go crazy. Yeah, I just don't see the from a comic book minded perspective, I just don't see how this could be a games as a service, and I also don't really see how this can be like a game with a tail.
It's also
I need the justification.
Rocksteady's never done anything like this before, and when we and unfortunately, I mean, most studios really haven't done anything out like this, at least on consoles. Some of them do okay, Bungie. Some of them do below okay, Massive and Ubisoft, and some of them fail, BioWare.
Yeah.
I have confidence in Rocksteady. I have confidence in Rocksteady to tell a story based on what they've been able to do with the Arkham series. I have zero confidence that they could do as game as a service. And I haven't heard rumors of them taking talent of people that have done games as a service even remotely well. We haven't heard of them going to Rocksteady, nor have we seen jobs listings for Rocksteady that are listed this, and people have been trying to crack what Rocksteady's been doing forever.
Yeah, but it all kind of makes sense now that it's confirmed Suicide Squad, because remember, there was like, oh, they're actually doing a Superman game. Mm-hmm. Well, they're kind of going to do a Superman game with this. And then when the Suicide Squad stuff happened, I'm just worried they've been working on it so long. Anytime a game takes so long to develop, there's usually weird old shit that comes out. Or there's like aspects of the game that's really old that was a good fresh idea 5 years ago when they started development, but then games came out between that advanced what they were doing. So that always worries me when a game's been in development for so long.
Well, and then my fear too is that if it is a game as a service, is of the nightmares of stuff that we've talked about with BioWare, where they didn't want to pay attention to what Bungie or Massive was doing because they wanted to be successful and do their own thing. Yeah. Well, you failed. So like, it is concerning. Like, and I'm not trying to sell like Division short. Like For Honor has done something that has been able to be a game as a service that's been okay. Rainbow Six is great. And whether you want to believe it or not, that's a game as a service. It's a competitive game as a service now. And then, something else that, like I think that's going to have some weight to it, we'll talk about too, is like I think Fall Guys is on the right path. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Overwatch is a game as a service as well. Yeah, they just did their own path, or a very old path that they're going to have to redo probably for the second game. Right, for sure. Yeah, so I guess we'll find out at the end of August what's going on. They better do a full blowout of this game. I'm going to be pissed if it's only like a 30-second teaser trailer after waiting so long. I want like a good 15-minute demo gameplay scenario. Or if they just do a teaser trailer, then they better date that for like 21, 22. Which is still a long time for that studio to be working on, anything.
The only thing that worries me is because I put this at the end, so AT&T was looking to sell their whole WB division, WB Games division. In a recent investor call, they kind of sounded like they put that on hold, but they also bunched the video game division as like an enhancement for their movie and TV show properties. So it almost sounds like they're not even considering it a pillar anymore of like, hey, we do TV shows, we do movies, we do video games. It was more like we do TV
media.
shows and movies. Yeah, no, it was like we do TV shows, movies, and then we make toys and video games for those TV shows and movies. Which kind of scared me that they mentioned that, which makes me worried that Rocksteady is now going to be under that horrible AT&T umbrella, to where if this isn't 10 out of 10 sells 5 to 10 million copies, that AT&T is going to be like, we tried, and then kill them, because AT&T doesn't seem like they're in the video game business,
which could be even scarier if it is a game as a service.
Yeah, to where they're gonna, especially a company like AT&T, who tend to be a little short-sighted. Most companies are when they're that big, where they'll see their Suicide Squad game, and they'll be like, oh, we sold 3 million copies and we made this much money, and then they're like, but Fortnite did this, and then they have to explain to their corporate overlords that Fortnite is a different game. You know, like they could be in a scary spot with this. But let's move on to the last section. There was a state of play. I know me and Dave debated on whether we were going to need to do like a special podcast episode for it, like we did for the Xbox and PS5 reveals. We didn't. Luckily, PlayStation announced beforehand. No price, no release date.
Please don't be excited.
Yeah, please don't be excited for this 41-minute thing. There was some cool things that were announced during it. I highlighted just a couple things. Hitman Trilogy, so the Hitman 3 and the previous games will get PSVR support, which is cool. That game's coming out 2021, I believe. So VR support for those, really cool.
I think an Assassin-style game in VR would be fun.
Oh, yeah, especially the world they built for that game in particular. Then the Crash Bandicoot stuff looked really cool. Like, I went from, like, do we need a new Crash Bandicoot game to I kind of want to buy Crash Bandicoot day one.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Crash myself. I mean, but I really haven't invested in the games. But it looked cool, and like I could see myself playing that game and having a good time. It's like $40, right? Or is it gonna be 60?
I'm not too sure. I think it might be 40. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 40.
No.
But they'll do collector's editions of 60 with digital shit. Braid Anniversary Edition was announced, which was cool. Dave's already just like...
I don't know enough about this game. Like, and to be fair, I haven't watched the trailer. I watched bits and pieces of the state play, but like there were a lot of people that are excited about it. It just doesn't resonate with me at all, and I don't know why it doesn't.
So, because it's probably when you weren't really playing games that much. This was the first big Xbox Live Arcade game.
Okay.
So like 2000, I think it's been like 13 or 14 years since it came out.
Okay.
So I think this is right in the gap where you were just
really
sports
wasn't playing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you probably had just picked up your PlayStation, and it was only available on a 360 at that time. So that looks cool. They're doing the art to make it less pixelated and more like watercolor painted, or like oil painted. So that looks cool. They're putting a lot of work, director's commentary in it, remastering the music, so it looks like a really thorough remaster. Then we got the release date for Spelunky 2, which the internet was ecstatic about. I think that was the thing that everyone walked away from super happy, because the first Spelunky was one of those indie darling games that kind of came out of nowhere and for a little bit of time took over like the Twitch universe, and like every video game critic would go to Spelunky as like their favorite game. So that got a release date, and it's soon. It's September 15th. Then we got the Alan Wake DLC for Control, which I'm excited about. The Alan Wake series has always been cool. Control is one of my favorite games from 2019. I did find it weird that they announced this DLC in a PlayStation State of Play, knowing the fact that Alan Wake has never been on a PlayStation platform. I was really hoping with this announcement they'd be like, Alan Wake 1 and 2 remastered, because Remedy owns the rights now.
Right. Coming
to PlayStation 4. But that's not the case. I'm hoping this opens the window. Maybe there'll be excitement for it, that they'll pull the trigger on that.
Just made me realize I haven't played Control. I haven't finished Control. It's just like, I'm like, oh crap, that's something else I gotta finish.
Yeah, you should. It's definitely, you like Metroidvania type games. So.
Yeah.
A game that I was really excited about because I didn't know it existed and it looked really cool. Aeon Must Die was a cool looking game, though some drama is associated with that game. Apparently, after the trailer was released, the people that were developing the game said they haven't worked on that game in a long time because they were basically like kicked off and left the studio. So sounds like the publisher of the game just hired a company to make a trailer for it, and no idea how the game's being finished. They probably just hired like another development team to finish this game. So there's like some controversy by that. You can read it. There's a huge Google Doc of just information on like the development issues with that game, which is weird that this made the state of play. I think that's why it's interesting to bring up on this. The fact that something like this
was kept from Sony.
Yes, like how this was like Sony, I would assume, would have done a vetting process. So the fact that like the conversation, so Aeon Must Die was trending after State of Play because people are like, holy shit, this looks cool. And then that conversation throughout the day slowly switched to what the fuck is going on with the development team. It went from people really excited to a lot of people then digging in to try and figure out what's going on with the development of this game. There was a Bugsnax gameplay thing. Looks really cool. It looks like Pokemon Snap, Viva Pinata, and a bunch of other cool stuff from my childhood. I think a lot of the N64 games inspired the development team for that, so I'm excited for that. And then there was Godfall. Showed up again. It's got to have the record for most appearances at like State of Plays and PlayStation press conferences. And this
with
was
appropriate music.
Yeah, with music that made sense for it. This was weird because like I asked like on Twitter, is anyone excited for this game? And I was just met with a bunch of people just being like, no. And I don't know what's going on exactly with this game that it's just not capturing anyone's attention. It hasn't with me. Every time I've seen it, I'm just like, eh. But Dave, you're the resident looter fan. Or loot fan.
I'm concerned, just like I was concerned, and still I'm concerned about Avengers, and I'm concerned about these other games that are coming out that are using this looter term, and they're using a slasher looter instead of looter shooter, like looter slasher. I think that with the troubles that the games that we mentioned earlier on in the show that have gone through of investment and return on investment, time investment, all those things, and cost investment, you need to show how and why. And the only thing that they've been showing right now is cool looking, like the characters look cool, the combat looks cool.
This was like Warframe characters though. Like it doesn't even look original. So,
but my concern is again the tail on the game. Like, I think that especially with as many people have been burned, whether they got burned by Anthem or got burned by Division or got burned by Destiny or got burned by whatever game it was that whatever it is, like you need to show your consumer how you're not going to burn them or how you're going to be able to respect their time and or Borderlands, like, because this is another Gearbox thing, like like Borderlands 3 kind of hit with a thud. It was cool for like 10 days and then it's not. And I think that you need to show why you need why you're going to get these people the consumer $60 and then show them like how you're going to keep them.
Yeah. And the best they could do with this is they just said there's going to be no MTX, which I didn't know what that meant at first, and apparently that means microtransactions.
Right.
So like they haven't done a really good job at messaging, and I think it's sad though when like they showed this game at so many events and they haven't done anything at any of these events to like show people why they should get this game. Where it's almost better if they didn't show up at all these events.
Or this game needs its own state of play by itself.
Yes. Yeah.
Put the creative director, put the developer in two chairs on camera and say, this is how this game works. This is what happens in this game, and here is how you get stronger and earn stuff, and similar to what Avengers has done with the War Table, which, to be fair, I haven't given enough attention to.
Yeah. But if they do that, I feel like they need to do that on PlayStation's channel. They shouldn't do that on the
no, it should be a state of play.
Gearbox channel. Yeah,
it should be a Godfall state of play.
Like
whenever they decide to do it, give them 40 minutes and tell them to, and because again, I'm invested in the Destiny universe, but they will Bungie will do their own stream, and Michael's even seen this when Bungie goes live on Twitch, they carry weight. They get thousands of people watching their reveals, watching their stuff. When they release a trailer, when Bungie releases a trailer, they control the internet for they control the video game internet for a couple of hours when Bungie does something. And PlayStation can do the same. And if PlayStation wants Godfall to be successful, they need to do the same. It's time. If Sony wants this to work with Gearbox, they need to throw their weight. Yeah. And the way you throw your weight is to show your game.
And also, I think a key thing for this would be to please have the developers on that studio working on it, not Gearbox's people. Have the developers work on it, because Gearbox has its own stank on it. Yeah. If they put
creative director,
yes, exactly,
and community manager for the developer.
Yes, yeah, no, and I think that's key. My fear is they would put Randy Pitchford out there doing magic tricks and shit, and then the Twitch chat will be talking about medieval times instead of talking about the game. So they need to do that. I think The Last of Us didn't even have a long one. The Last of Us, I think, had an 18-minute one.
No, but anytime you saw Last of Us, you saw Druckmann.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, but I'm saying in terms of length, it doesn't even have to be a super long one. If they just do here's 18 solid minutes of gameplay with the creative director talking over it, I think that would help this game significantly. My only fear is that they haven't done that yet. Is it won't.
There's not a lot there. Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll see. I don't want to be too negative about it, but it's definitely one of those things where I wanted to read the room, get a temperature on this game after Twitter, and I was just met with a bunch of people.
I think that there's certain expectations that come with using the term looter or using the term games as a service nowadays. People are, just like there's a stigma that comes with episodic games. People felt like they've been burned by the Telltale debacle, and so there's a stigma that comes with episodic games. There's a stigma that that comes this other game that you talked about, the Aeon Must Die game. If anybody that's following the video game world heavily, if you talk about it, is that the game that the developers that they hired an art director to do their trailer? Is that game even ready? And those things carry significant weight, and they need to either swing that weight in their direction, or that weight's going to roll downhill and it's going to hit your game's going to launch with a thud.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, they need to do a lot to fix it, especially it's showed up at all the PlayStation events. It's almost associated with the PS5. I know it's an exclusive for PS5, but it's been at all the PS5 related things.
This game is coming out the day the PS5 launches.
Exactly, and we don't even know how big that lineup is. Yeah. So it has the advantage of being one of the only games available on launch day, and if it doesn't even do well then, or if it leaves a bad impression, that makes the system look bad. Yep. If there's only 5 games available, a significant amount of people.
This is going to be the one that the average person is going to have heard of though. PlayStation comes out today. I pre-ordered it. I'm going to Target or to GameStop or Best Buy or wherever to get my PlayStation. And what are the games you want? And they lay 4 or 5 games out there, and some of them are Watch Dogs or whatever.
Well, no,
I want a new game. I want the newest. Okay, well it's Godfall. Just hope it's not shit.
Yeah, because that will be a super bad look for people buying their PS5 if they're I just want the games that are exclusive for this.
Well, and exactly, in the chat, Down Up Destiny says, unlike previous generations, though, Godfall is competing with live services titles that are backwards compatible. Destiny's just going to work. I'm assuming Division's just going to work, and it's going to look better. Why would I spend $60 on a game that I don't know if it can actually live up to the hype, or I can play my Destiny in 4K 60 frames because I have good enough TV for it now?
Exactly. But that is it for the news. So take it away, Dave.
All right. So first thing for playing and watching, my work schedule has sucked since coming back from vacation. So I played. Yeah,
retail punishment.
I'll leave the last part because I think you and I will just bleed our conversation together. So I'll talk about Fall Guys when I'm done. Mm-hmm. I bought an Xbox One S. I found a really good deal on it and picked it up. The only thing I've been able to do with it so far is plug it in and update it.
Did you cancel your your PC Game Pass?
I upgraded it to Ultimate.
Oh, you upgraded. Okay.
Yeah, I got Ultimate for $1 for a month or 2, I think.
Yeah.
So then I upgraded it to Ultimate. And then what I was actually really impressed with was Yes, it is an Xbox Game Pass machine, 100%. I bought Xbox One to have an Xbox Game Pass machine. Actually, the thing that I'm most intrigued with is like on the phone apps. Like, I didn't realize. I think I can actually like have an Xbox party chat. Like, my friend can be playing on the Xbox, and I can be talking to him like through my phone.
Yeah, it has like the full application.
Yeah, which I don't understand why Sony doesn't have that.
I think they might, but you have to download the Messenger app.
No, I have that. I can't join parties.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would do it just to mess with people.
Damn, Nintendo does that. But that's the only way to do party chat on Nintendo.
Yeah. So like I was just really encouraged by that. Just the functionality of what I was seeing. I'm completely lost on the interface. I think I need to factory reset it because I did buy it, third party. So I'll have to clean some of that stuff up. But in full disclosure, like part of me just upgrading this to Game Pass Ultimate and Xcloud stuff. Part of what pushed this forward a little bit for me, about 10 or 15%, is the Destiny content being free as part of Game Pass Ultimate. So for me to have something that I could, because my primary console, PlayStation, and my gaming PC are downstairs in my office where I'm sitting now. Sometimes I don't want to come down here and play video games because it kind of feels like work a little bit. So like laying on the couch doing mindless stuff, playing Game Pass games, or playing with friends, competitive or not competitive, but playing like a cooperative Halo with Johnny, or any of those things are intriguing to me, and I would love to do them, like kind of laying on the couch or mindlessly grinding something in Destiny while talking to my wife, versus her having to come downstairs. So getting that was a good it was a good step. And then plus the Game Pass, just the stuff that's offered on Game Pass on consoles is more than on PC, and I definitely feel like it's worth the $10 more, and it'll definitely feel worth more of that when Xcloud comes next month. So I'm not super concerned. I tried to get Xbox All Access, that was like, because like I think in like 12 to 18 months I can upgrade to the Series X, and that would be like perfect timing based on when when Series X will start releasing exclusive first party content.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, Xbox All Access is I think it's like $22 or $24 a month. You get a console and you get Game Pass Ultimate.
So it's $18 if you don't want to upgrade. If you want to upgrade, it's $24
yeah,
a month.
But it was sold out everywhere because of quarantine.
Yeah,
I couldn't
quarantine
find it,
and then discontinued. So
yeah.
It's like,
so I ended it. This is a disc based Xbox One S. It's a 1 terabyte. It's just. It was important to me to be able to truly invest into this system. It's been 7 or 8 months since we went multi-platform, so I wanted to make sure. And I'm not gonna. I know that I'm between the two right now. This kind of solidified the decision with finances being correct. It will be a PS5 at launch for me because again, there's going to be nothing that's going to force me to get a Series X, which I'm okay with. So I can play I can experience some of the stuff on here on the Xbox One.
Yeah, and then PC for anything that needs a little extra juice. You can then just play it on PC.
Yep, and then I can always do a minor upgrade on my PC like next year, like a couple months after PS5 comes out. I can get a better GPU or something, and I'll be in better shape. So, but I haven't had a chance to delve too deep into it. I'm hoping to do that later on this week. And to mess with some stuff. So I'm definitely looking for some games, like to play on Game Pass. Johnny is a good friend of mine. He's harping on me about Halo Master Chief Collection co-op stuff. So we'll probably do some of that, and I'd love to stream that. I am interested in seeing how the streaming in-app streaming works, because I think it'd also be fun to stream it from my living room. Like I can plug any webcam into this, put it on top of my TV, and I can stream and talk through the headset mic, hopefully, and you guys can kind of see me more in a relaxed state, having a little bit more fun, versus when I'm kind of like always looking at my stream stats to make sure that my stream's not crashing, which I'm doing much less now because my internet is way more stable and I've been able to allocate some resources better, so I'm not as terrified about dropping frames and buffering and stuff as I've become more comfortable with streaming. But it's definitely something that I'm very much looking forward to playing, and like I would love to, I think you guys would think it's hilarious, but like to pick up a game like Overcooked and to have 2 controllers, and you guys to see my wife and how terrible she is at video games. Terrible.
Hope she bleeps us out when she edits this for you.
Yeah, she won't, because she knows it's a fact. so I still remember playing like Wii Tennis with her, and I think she got tennis elbow playing Wii Tennis.
I mean, she took it serious.
Yeah, or she's just not capable.
Wow.
So, I got some pretty nasty text messages when she was editing our bonus episode that I messed up on. So
I got those text messages as well. Just because,
Yeah.
again, you messed up what a steak cook is.
which I said I would mess it up. And if you want to know what I messed up, it's going to cost you $7 a month. Patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming. No, I'm just... yeah. And then, like, obviously Tuesday came and Fall Guys came out. And I was able to intermittently play Fall Guys on Tuesday. And I had a lot of fun with that. My wife came downstairs while I was playing, and she's like, "What are you playing?" And she watched me play it for a couple minutes, and she literally said it. Listen, it would be like box art for Fall Guys. Fall Guys is the game that 2020 needed.
Yes, no, it is the perfect summer game, and it's the perfect quarantine game because it's not serious. It's also the perfect follow-up to The Last of Us Part 2 in terms of, like, the spectrum of sadness and, like, joy. Yeah, no,
So you've been hyped about this game since you played it, and I was like, whatever. It looked cool. Like, you played it at the Devolver Digital thing. You like everything Devolver Digital does for the most part.
Yes.
That's kind of like they fit into your realm, which is great. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. It's a battle royale, like whatever. And then it's like free on Plus. I'm like, okay, that's a really good thing. Like, because I was worried about this game, and not worried about it, but
I was
just
worried about
the price
battle royale.
and player base without crossplay. Like, there's always that concern. Server issues aside, because there was definitely server issues which were to be expected. Wow, if it's doing 2 million on PC, that's crazy.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Like,
Yeah.
they had server issues because it was a PS Plus game, which made it gigantic, and then on Steam it sold 2 million copies.
Yeah.
So their servers were on fire for, like, the first 3 days this game was out. It was, I think, out most of Thursday and Friday until it finally stabilized.
Kudos to them. Like, they did I don't know the exact developer name other than Fall Guys.
Mediatonic.
They did a fantastic job of communicating in game what was going on. Like, fantastic. On launch day, they were saying, they literally popped up a thing, said, "Sorry, we're shutting it down for 2 hours. You guys are killing us." Like, and that's exactly what it said.
But if you were in their Discord, my God, whoever the community manager is, Oliver, you are the fucking man. Like, he was so fucking hilarious in the chat when they did the 2 hours shutdown.
What are you gonna do? Like, when they said the 2 hour shutdown, and then like a couple, like 20, 30 minutes before the shutdown was over, he showed like a graph of what people were doing, and he's like, "What are you doing? We told you it's not gonna work. Why are you doing this?"
Yeah, and he basically was just like,
helping.
"Okay." No, and then at a certain point, he's like, "All right, I guess we'll just do this. You guys are not going to play even longer now." And it was so great just seeing him just like deal with that. Like, I ended up messaging Joe, who I like interviewed last year, just being like, "Dude, congrats on the game. Like, I'm sure you can't even like spend that much time replying to this message because like your DMs are full and all that stuff." But yeah, I messaged him and he was just like, "Thank you, man." And then I think immediately his DMs were full again on Discord. Yeah. like instantaneously. It was hilarious to just see how successful this game was doing.
So,
what did you think?
It's fun. Like, it's frustrating and fun at the same time. You get frustrated, but then you realize like it's over, and like even if you're watching your buddy play, it's over like in 10 minutes. Like the whole, so I'm not as upset as people are about the team games. Like, there's definitely some people that are annoyed about the team games. I get it, but I think in something that's in such short bites like that, like bite-sized things like that, like even if you lose a team game because they don't know what they're doing, like I don't hate it. I could definitely see them trying to phase those down, or maybe they do the team games more at the beginning, because I feel like there's at least 3 or 4 games. I honestly, and I haven't ran any data or anything on this, but I feel like depending on the player count, that weighs which game you play tremendously.
No, it does. No, so like that dictates your final round. If it's less than 6 people,
whether it's Hexagon or the Gauntlet thing that they have you run.
Yeah, if it's like 6 and up, you're gonna get the Hexagon. If it's under 6, you'll get the tail game. If it's 6 to 12, you'll get the mountain.
I think it sucks if there's like 15 players and then you get a team game and that eliminates like 10 of you because they do 5, 5, and 5. I think when you're that close, I think that sucks. I think if you were doing team games when you were in the first or second round, I think it'd be a little bit better. But I get where they're coming from, and some of them are just, some of the team games can just be super frustrating. Like the egg hunt game or the egg basket game can be super frustrating.
I got really good at that one, but I think what helps with the team games, and this is coming from me, Mr. Antisocial. I got all my friends to play it. Like, I dropped the trailer on them the day before. I'm like, download this game. And I had a couple friends, specifically one friend who saw the trailer, and he's one of those, like, he's been a friend for a while, the fragile masculinity type dudes, to where he saw that and was just
I'm
like,
not playing with a pink bubblegum ball.
Basically, yeah. Like, it basically said something like that, and I was like, download it. And then turns out he, that night, played with my other friend until 7 a.m, and they had to work at 9 o'clock, and they played that all night. And then I get
That's
on,
awesome.
and I stayed up to 2 a.m, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. No, actually, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, stayed up till 2 a.m. with them. And if you have the
Get a job.
No, if you, I put my taxes in, I can get unemployment.
Yeah, I think it's great that if you're playing with 4 of your friends, you're guaranteed
The
to be
team
on the same
games
team.
are so easy. Yeah, the team
100%.
games are great. I just wish they, when you get eliminated and you want to watch your friends, you have to like find them by hitting R1.
I think it should just default to the friends first, and then like cycle through your first 3 or 4 friends, and then cycle through everybody else.
Yes. That little things
There's
like that.
There's definitely some
fix.
improvements that they could make on the game, like, and I think that they will. Like, I think that there was, like, rightfully so, I think there was concerns about, was it going to have legs? I don't even know if they've talked about it when another season starts. Like, again, Johnny is a boy
days.
Johnny is a boy who I played a lot of games with. Like, he's already hit rank 40 or whatever, which is like max.
That was my concern, because I was talking to my friends. So I've only won 2 games. I
don't have a win yet, so.
But I played a lot more, so I probably should have more.
I think I'm like level 6, 7. So
my friends already maxed out. Like, both of my friends already like maxed out their stuff, and I was talking to them about it, just like. And it's funny, since they got it free for Plus, they've already bought DLC because they want to tip the developer.
Yeah, and the cost, the microtransactions aren't terrible. Like the ratio of like how much something costs, the in-game currency to what you buy the in-game currency for, I was very impressed with.
Yeah, you get that in-game currency pretty frequently.
You get the in-game currency quickly, but then also just straight out purchasing kudos through the PlayStation
kudos.
Store wasn't that expensive either in terms of
not at all.
Kudos to dollar ratio. Like I was like, huh.
Yeah. But it sucks because my friends, like Enrique and Josh specifically, I played with them, and I think they kept switching back and forth with wins. I think one of them's already got the win 5 games in a row thing. So I would make it to the finals.
Which the developer thought nobody was going to get that trophy.
Oh, yeah, no, and I didn't think anyone was going to get it either. I know I'm not going to get it unless they had private servers and then I can, like, fake it.
Cheese it, yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those annoying things where I was playing with them and they're so fucking good that I would make it to the finals every single match and one of them would win it. So at a certain point, if they won, I told them it counted as a win for me. Like, if any of us won.
I've seen, like again, I've seen Jonathan Cologne. He's done a couple things where he's had some friends in the tail game at the end, and he already has some wins, so he's helped them get their first wins. Like when there's three of them and 2 of them are on, 2 of them are on party chat and they're against the random. Like, they make sure that the guy that doesn't have the win gets his tail, and then like Johnny just like is like a bodyguard and he just like pushes him out. Like, there's a clip of him like protecting like Frazier or something like that, and he's just like literally like, I feel so bad for the rando because he's like, what are you doing? Like, because he's just grabbing him and throwing him to the ground, grabbing him, throwing him to the ground.
Yeah, I probably have to coordinate with my friends, but we're all blood hungry at the end.
And like the little bit that I've seen on Twitter with the Fall Guys Twitter account, like there's a huge opportunity. Like, it looks like Witcher might be trying to do something with them, and
KFC is tweeting them like, "Hey, you should make this in the game." Like, there's going to be a lot of stuff they can do. I just hope they have like a really good roadmap of introducing new games, because after as much as I've played at it, like, I'm already level 20 something. So I'm really close. I'll have the level 40 cap for the season by the end of next week. And
well, it's still new, it's still fresh for
45.
people. So I mean, I don't expect them to adjust their seasonal content because of the player base went nuts for a couple weeks. But I just hope that they can keep up with the cosmetic expectation.
Cosmetics, and then also adding new minigames into it.
Which
like,
they put out some kind of roadmap where they definitely have some more games coming.
Yeah, they do have more. I just hope it's like a steady flow, because there's times, when you get into a long session of that game of like 3-4 hours and you're just like, fuck, this round again, because there's only 12 to 15.
But there's still some that I haven't played yet.
Oh, really? Well, yeah. well, sometimes you'll go like large streaks and you're like, man, you know what I really want to play? The soccer game. And you'll go like an entire day without playing the soccer game.
Yeah. Well, the ring one, the team one where you jump through rings, like I've never played that.
That one's fun, but it's frustrating when
Yeah.
you're not playing with friends who you can like rely on to jump in the rings.
And strategize. And there's definitely like like it's kind of cool. There's definitely a skill gap. I can see a skill gap in the game in the single races, but then at the same time, it's not that big of a deal because usually like 30 people advance. So like winning is great, but you don't really get extra kudos for winning, but the seesaw one is hilarious because people just don't know how physics work when you're just standing there waiting for the
that's the one that my friend coined the phrase "agents of chaos." There are agents of chaos that will play that game that will mess everything up for you. And
there's people that have been trolling at the finish line too. Like
I hate that. I push some people off from doing that because I get mad. So I'm like, no, you're not ruining someone else's time. But yeah, there's definitely a skill level to it, and there's also just enough bullshit that can happen that almost voids that skill level. There's enough things that can happen that you don't feel like it's unfair. My friends kept winning in the finals because their skill level is really high, but enough stuff happens in that game that you don't get frustrated that someone's better because there's always some bullshit. My friend was talking about like this is what he wants Mario Party to be. This is like a really cool idea. This is a really cool game that. This is finally like a Mario Party like game on other platforms that doesn't have the bullshit board game aspect that Mario Party has. Mm-hmm. So I just hope they keep adding content to this because I'm in love with this game and I wasn't expecting to spend that many days playing it. Or I knew I was going to play it, but I wasn't expecting like my friends to jump on this game like they did.
So it's great. So if you have PS Plus and you haven't downloaded Fall Guys yet, like you should just do it for sure. If you're playing on Steam, it's $20 too. It's like definitely worth the cost. It's just fun just to kind of kick back and just play a game and and it just doesn't matter. It matters, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I think I said it's like not stressful and like somebody's like it's stressful and I'm like, well, you're different. Your definition of stress and my definition of stress are different. Do I get frustrated and annoyed when I go to break through a gate and it doesn't break through it? Yeah, but when I set the controller down and walk away, am I thinking about the fact that wall didn't break anymore? No. Versus playing something in Last of Us of like, do I really want to stab this person? Like that kind of lingers with you a little bit. So it's definitely something to check out. Yeah, it's not without its problems. It needs some improvement. I hope within the next 2 weeks we get some announcement of at least 1 or 2 more mini games added within the next 60 days. Like I hope it's not 60 days before they add something else because I think that they could lose some of their momentum. So I hope that they do have some plans to do something like next week or the week after just to keep it going again. Like, oh, I really want to check that out. And it could be even something as just even a new cosmetic or something to earn. And if you're able to get to level 40 that fast, then I think they need to have something maybe more achievable, later.
Yeah, there needs to be something extra after that. Just because the idea that, like, I'm going to hit level 40 next week, and then there'll still be 50 days left in the season. But their rotation of cosmetics change every single day, or at least part of the cosmetic store changes every single day. So
features, yep.
Yeah, there could always be something like that. Though I earn a decent amount of kudos, like to where I
barely spent anything. Yeah, I barely spent my kudos, and I have a lot that day. So I definitely hope that they figure out something to keep that enticeful, and maybe they start doing something like daily logins too. Like little things like that could help. So because that's definitely something that doesn't take very long. Like everything I was surprised with, like the load times to boot the game up aren't bad. Which some of the games currently on current gen, the load times alone are a pain in the ass. And then the only thing that's like can be a little annoying sometimes is just waiting for the falling to happen. But I think that's been some of the server issues. So
that is, yeah.
But
anything
what
else
you've
Dave?
been no I was gonna say what else you've been playing. I barely watched anything. I watched been watching a lot of the NBA. That's been fascinating to watch. So and watching baseball crumble and college football crumble and trying to figure out when the NFL is going to put their bubble in, because if they don't put a bubble in, they're not making it past Halloween.
Nope. So the main thing I played other than Fall Guys was the Avengers beta. I did the classic pre-order from Amazon.
Didn't work.
That's, you complain to customer service and get a $5 coupon. I did the classic pre-order from Amazon because they don't charge you until it ships, so then I can cancel it if I want to. But I might keep it, surprisingly. So this was just a beta weekend. It's basically been everything we've seen in the trailers so far that's playable. You start off the beta all single-player stuff, basically. Doing the A-Day, I believe is what they call it, where you basically are at the Avengers, or you're at the San Francisco Bridge, and they constantly switch between all the different characters, so you get like a little taste of all their abilities. And my rank from abilities of the core Avengers is Thor, fun as hell to play. His character design, I still think is bad, but he's the most fun to play just because it's like a budget God of War in terms of how the hammer works, like the axe in God of War doesn't feel as quite as impactful as God of War did, or doesn't feel quite as good, but it's still really fun to throw that hammer around. And it's Hulk is then my second favorite of the core Avengers team, because it also feels like I'm just gonna keep calling it budget even though it's a AAA game. It feels like a budget Hulk Ultimate Destruction from the GameCube. You're really powerful. You can really mess up the enemies. The Avengers are straight up killing people. I don't give a shit what people say. They're murdering people with their powers in this game. But the Hulk stuff is cool. It is limited in like those sections in terms of like what he can destroy and what he can do. It's very linear early on, and the levels are openish, but they're also linear as well. So Hulk has cool things. He has shitty platforming that he has to deal with, which I hate. Where it's just like all the walls have like white scratches.
He's a giant green man. We expect him to jump like Mario? Come on.
No, I just hate how basic the platforming is, to where it's like even in regular levels you'll just see like a wall with white scratches of paint on it, and you're like, oh, okay, that's a wall. Hulk can get up there and then he can get to a section other people can't, and it doesn't feel great. Then Captain America is really fun just because it's Captain America. He's a melee combat character with a shield that flies around, so he has that God of War Thor feel going for him. Black Widow's cool. The gunplay with her is pretty good. She's super acrobatic, just like in the comics, so that's pretty fun to play. My least favorite, though, was Iron Man, because I think the shooting feels bad. Like, his shooting specifically, and I don't like how slow his character moves. But I was surprised how well I did enjoy it.
The couple live streams that I saw, like his hovering and stuff, like it just looked clunky.
Yeah, it looked clunky. I think the problem I'm going to have with this game, and a lot of people will, is because they're trying to cover so many different heroes, they don't master any of them.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yes, and that is a definite problem in this game. The story so far, or like in the beta, or what it's looking like, is pretty good. It has one of my favorite comic book characters, Kamala, Miss Marvel, as the main character, and she's basically trying to get the team back together. The writing is good, like the dialogue is fine, but a lot of the stuff that they have you do is just kind of basic and boring, which is like the thing I have an issue with, like I mentioned earlier with games as a service, is they have to give you like this gameplay loop that is also often very repetitive, and that I think is a problem with this game, because it's going to be a games as a service, and because it's a jack of all trades scenario. The levels don't feel very special, and therefore the story can't feel special to individual characters, because it has to cover so many different characters, and then the game has to flex based on what character you happen to be playing for later missions and the team composition. So it has to be just generic enough to fit all these other characters in. But I did enjoy playing the game, despite me hating on it as much as I have been, to where I went from like, I probably won't pick it up, to there's a good chance I'll pick it up on sale. Not necessarily day one, unless I can get my friends to play. I did a stream. I did the first like 2.5 hours on Twitch. I'll highlight it, so it's like there for VOD. I feel like the game is very thin though, in terms of like the leveling up system is pretty good, but the heroes' abilities are pretty defined, so you just get different moves that they can do that are very cinematic and cool looking. But that feels like it can run out pretty easily. The cosmetics are there, which is cool, but the specific gear that you're picking up is just basic leveling, boosting up your character. I don't really feel anything special. I feel like they know that, so there's just a button. It's just like equip the highest gear button. So you don't even have to really engage and move around the gear to level up your character.
Most games have that now.
Okay, yeah, but when I saw that, because I was like reading, and I was like, okay, this does this better, but in reality, it was just like +1, +2, +3. Okay, cool. Let me just put this on, as opposed to me actually being strategic with the different gear. I didn't feel like there was any depth there. So every time I got new gear, it would pop up a message like, your gear's higher, and then I would just load into that menu, hit L2, equip it, and then be done with it. So that worries me too, is like there isn't that much depth in this game as a service. It's going to be based on how well that story's told, and so far the story, from what I've seen, is pretty basic, just because they have to juggle so many different characters with this game.
So I know that there was a conversation we had on Twitter, like, about like the skill tree, and like there's obviously some stuff that I missed when I was criticizing it, and it'll be an open beta next week, so I'll play it for sure. Do you see, I guess my biggest question is, what happens when you fully level up Hulk? Is it worth to continue to play as Hulk?
That is what is going to have to rely on the story to give you a reason to do that, other than he could be fun to play for you, but I would need to see how the later stages take advantage of Hulk, or if the later stages just turn into empty arenas. Because I don't know if his gameplay's fun enough for him to just be in an empty arena, and the sections that are catered to him weren't that fun. So they need to like make better scenarios without forcing characters to funnel specific or play specific characters.
Yeah, and I started watching a little bit of the War Table stuff, and it looks like that they might have some type of modifier system in there as well, where you can replay stuff with at a harder level with more things in it.
Yes, they do have that stuff, which is good.
What type of loot is dropping though? Like, is there gloves for Hulk? Like, what is it?
Yeah, so like the gear, it was like jewelry type stuff, like different like bracelets and gems. But
they have in-game ability effects, and they have traits.
Yeah, they have some like effects on how stuff looks a little bit, but they don't change the physical appearance for your character. That's a separate thing you unlock, like different costumes for your character.
But putting on a certain kind of bracelet like enhances his punching ability?
Yes, like it can enhance different aspects of the character, so that's where that can come in to play, and maybe there's a little stuff for that. But for me personally, I need like the story to hit and the gameplay to hit before the leveling up system, because where I end up with these games is just give me the best thing that's available. Right. I don't care about like weakening one thing to make one thing better.
You're not a build crafter or a combo producer, or like you're not going to play Hulk and play an aggressive one and have like Iron Man be like a healer or something.
Yeah, exactly. I need the gameplay to do all the talking for me, and there's just enough flaws with the individual characters that like no one felt great. And that's the real bummer for me. You know, I was really disappointed when I thought Iron Man felt like crap. You know, I was just like, Iron Man could be really cool. And then Cap felt great. But, you know, spoiler early on, like, you can't play as Cap, you know, for story reasons. Kamala actually felt really good. Miss Marvel was, like, really fun to play. Probably my favorite one. I didn't include her in my earlier list because, you know, she's, like, not an Avenger. She'll probably be one at the end of the game. She was actually really fun to play, but I worry that I kind of saw and got my fix from just the beta, and I would continue my progress during the open beta. Yeah. My worry is there enough for me to play day one if I get like 6 hours worth of content out of this beta? You know, like. Yeah,
I mean, that's always a concern. So like, and again, like we're a month out from release of this, and you know, not, you know. Like the concern in the back, what's going to be in the back of everybody's head is like, did I just play 50% of this game?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be like I played 50% of the game. I think it's going to be, did I get all the fun out of this game, because it could be a super long game.
Well, and then plus the more and more stuff that's been coming out the last week about this game has microtransaction shit all over it.
Yeah, it could potentially get real bad.
They're talking about
stuff.
like exclusive content for like Verizon cell phone holders and stuff. Like,
oh yeah, that's the worst type of stuff, to where it's like different carriers have different like costumes and abilities that they'll be able to get, and that's frustrating.
yeah.
But Square is probably already just like, it's not going to sell the crazy number Square Enix thinks it's going to sell, so they're going to try and get whatever deals they can out of it, which is a disappointment. Yeah, I hope this stuff doesn't ruin the joy of the game. If I do pick it up, I'll probably pick it up on sale, or if I do pick it up day one, I will probably need my friends to like guarantee me that they're going to buy a copy, because it'll probably be fun just to get through the game with them.
Oh, we're going to the store right now. If you're saying you're buying it, go over there. Like,
exactly.
You go to the register right now. Like,
no, I want a screenshot of them downloading the game.
yeah.
So before I download the game, and then have to set play dates up for that. But yeah, I know I sounded really negative throughout most of that, but the game did play better than I thought it was going to be. So there's enough there to at least keep me interested in it, as opposed to like write it off, which I think I sounded like I was going to do basically.
Well,
when we last talked about this.
The concern with it too, though, is like the viability of the investment into October and November and December. Like, again, Division would talk about, okay, even before when Division 2 came out, like, here's our end game. Anthem, as terrible as it was, they initially had an end game plan. They had a roadmap. Destiny has roadmaps. Overwatch has the seasons. Like Fall Guy has Fall Guys has the battle pass that you're earning, like you're earning stuff. Like the carrot's there. Like from my standpoint is I don't see like, okay, why am I going to level Hulk and Captain America and Thor up? Like, how is that going to help me in October and November? They need to explain that position before launch. Like,
and
is there going to be a raid like or a pinnacle end game activity of something that's hard that rewards you? Other than, hey, Spider-Man's going to show up in an in-game event and he might have another story, but then you're going to go back and play the stuff with him before. And again, to the point of what the guy on Twitter was telling me of like, oh, well, Destiny's the same thing. It is and it isn't the same thing, because Destiny has evolved now to where is there repeatable content in Destiny? 100%. Yes, there is repeatable content in Destiny. However, at least each season, a significant thing changes of what I'm doing for those couple of months.
This game could do that because there is so much Marvel lore that they could come up with great events. They could do Infinity Wars, Secret Wars. They could do the Skrulls. There's so much stuff that they could do. It's just,
is
will they
Square
do
Enix going to make enough money to warrant doing it?
Yes. Like, are they going to go the Ubisoft route of like, no matter what this game sells, we have a plan for the next year? Are they going to...
And if they have that, though, they need to kind of show it to the player and say, hey, when you complete this and you want to do something cool with your friends, like coming November 10th, Infinity War Secret Room, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, they need to title something.
They can't... I hope they don't do anything cute, like put an end game or like a post-credit scene at this, because 90% of the players don't finish their game that they buy. They need to do something to where if you get the physical game, there's a slip of paper that says Thanos is coming in December, or like some sort of like big build up. They need to like do the thing that we see with other games where the menu will change and you're like, oh, what's that going to be to hype up the next hero and the next big event? Like
Call of Duty does it every time the season changes. Now your tile on your game changes. You're like, oh, wait a minute, that looks different than it did last week.
Yeah.
Destiny does it every season as well. The tile changes a little bit so that there's things to draw your attention to say, hey, come back and play. And whether you like games of service or you don't like games of service, like there's always going to be something that might hit somebody. Did we think that seasonal content would work for Call of Duty? I at first didn't think it is. Now it's actually one of the best things that Call of Duty's done in a long time. Is seasonal content working for Destiny? There can be arguments each way. Did the game as a service work for Anthem? No. Is the seasonal content working for Division 2 right now? I don't think so. Is it working for Rainbow Six? Yes. Is it working for Honor? Yes. Does it appear that Fall Guys has a plan for long term? Yes. Did I just list like 8 games as a service now that I've actually played? Yes. Like that's a problem. So like there's your pie, your figurative pie is only so big, and there's only so many sections that you can cut before you run out of pie.
Yeah. And I also think this game has a mountain it's got to climb, because we just got one of the best Marvel superhero games with Spider-Man just 2 years ago. And throughout playing the beta, I was like, man, I would really kill for a Miss Marvel game. I would really kill for a good Thor game, Hulk game, Captain America game. And I'm not going to get that from this just because of the nature of this game. And they can hype Spider-Man as like the big content that's coming next year, and if it doesn't live up to the hype of Marvel Spider-Man, Sony's Spider-Man, then it's going to be dead, and that'll be the first and last big DLC for it.
Yeah.
You know, like they have to live in a shadow of coming after one of the best Marvel comic book games,
and they've got a great opportunity with September. A lot of games have ran away from September. Like they've got a great chance to grab this player base and hold on to them, but then they've got to be able to at least hold on to them to get them to sign in like weekly or monthly in October and November when all these other heavy hitters are coming. When Call of Duty 2020 is coming. When Watch Dogs is out. When Cyberpunk is out. You know, like they. I'm not sitting there saying that these people are going to have to be playing Avengers 20 hours a week, but you want them to at least sign in if there's a weekly reset or like a 10-day reset or whatever is going to be there to like this kind of get them into their gameplay loop or into their routine. And if they really do have a loop and a routine, they need to explain that. And if they have explained it and I've missed it, somebody please let me know about it, because I want to see what they're trying to do. Yeah.
And you need a Square Enix account to play this game, so I'm sure they'll email you updates once you start playing it. But
Did you watch anything? Or?
No, just Fall Guys any second I get.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to jump into the questions. You can send us questions using hashtag AskDigitalDays. You can put them in the Facebook group. You can put them in Discord. You can, anywhere. Like, again, all the social links are in the show. If you just use the hashtag AskDigitalDays on Twitter, we'll find it because we searched the hashtag. So in the Facebook group, Randy Hale wrote, do you have a, quote, go-to, close quote, game where you're just not sure what to play? His is Rocket League. I think this is inevitable. I would assume that Michael's is Overwatch and mine is Destiny.
Yeah. Also, Tetris 99 tends to be Tetris 99 and Luminous is when I'm like in bed, especially, like I'm on the couch and I don't really feel like watching anything because there's like nothing on TV anymore and there's no new movies coming out. So I'll just take out the Switch and play Tetris 99 for an unreasonable amount of time. Because like Overwatch, I go hot and cold on Overwatch. Like I haven't played it in like a week because it's been bad runs. But then I get super into Overwatch and play it for 2 weeks straight. So like Tetris 99 and Lumines on the Switch are like my go-to one. And before they were on the Switch, it was on my Vita or Tetris on my OG Game Boy, which I still have.
Yeah, mine is definitely mine is Destiny. It's been Destiny for a long time, and it will probably get worse in September when I can actually, if I can play Destiny on my phone, I can play it well.
Yeah. Oh god.
It'll get bad.
Start carrying your controller.
Yeah. Like if it works on my lunch break at my store, like oh my god, it'll get bad. I'll have to like carry a battery charger pack with for my phone, depending on what this does to my battery life. And then Matt Lowe, whose birthday is today when we're recording this, so happy birthday. He wrote, I feel the release of the he said he feels the release of the official Destiny cookbook has slipped by without any discussion. It arrived last week, and I'll be making Galahorn doodles for the reset this week. Have you ever made any food, drinks, or snacks based on a game?
Me personally, I've never made any, but I have gone to places that like have like video game based stuff. There's a place at Ignite or a place in Chicago called Ignite. It's a LAN gaming lounge with like Rock Band rooms and stuff, and they have a full bar. They have some really cool like cocktails that are gaming related, like mana potions that come in a little potion thing with a little cork top. They have Resident Evil drink that comes with like tequila in a little syringe that you put into the drink. So I've had like cocktails that are video game related, but I've never. Sarah made some Animal Crossing cookies, like shaped like Animal Crossing characters, and she's also made Mario cookies, like made them out of the Mario stars. So Sarah bakes cookies based on video games, which is always cool when she does that. So I've definitely had cookies and alcoholic drinks that video game related.
I've seen the closest I've really been to it is like some of the gaming events and stuff I've been to have been themed a little bit around that. The bars sometimes will have special like name drinks that you can order that are based on, especially when we go to like mixers or something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, nothing specifically exclusive. Nor do I saw this Destiny cookbook and I was like, oh, okay, it's a cookbook, and like I'm not a really big cooking guy. But yeah. And my wife's like, "Do you want that?" I'm like, "Are you going to use it?" And I was because
you probably don't even want to buy the groceries that require any of that stuff.
Can I order them as curbside orders? Can they be brought to my house? So, but yeah, so that's our show for the most part. Our spotlight, I would assume, would just be again like our August bonus episode is live on Patreon for the $7 subscribers. Again, patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming. We had a food debate. Discussion debate. And again, just as a quick reminder, August was food, July was how we got our gaming origin stories, June was E3 memories, and May was retail stories. So if you feel led to support us on Patreon at any of the denominations, we appreciate it. $1 essentially pays for 1 month of podcast hosting. $3 gets you into the private Discord channel, not the server. The server's open to the public. There's a private channel that you can also get as a Twitch subscriber. If you link your Twitch and your Discord, you'll have access to it as a subscriber to us. The $5 tier is, along with the Discord access, you get the weekly numbered episode 24 hours early, so you get it on Wednesday mornings. And then the $7 tier is the bonus episode, the 24-hour early access, and the Discord access. So each tier continues and carries over. So if you want to use that, there is also a PayPal link in the show notes as well. If you just want to give us a direct donation, that's always appreciated. Again, please do not feel obligated to support us through Patreon or PayPal. Those are just another revenue of way for you guys to support us if you so choose. The most helpful thing is reviewing the show, sharing the show, and listening to the show. It's always cool when somebody listens to something. Like we had the Twitter conversation earlier in the week about somebody, like having us dial back to a conversation we had. So that's always fun. So those are the ones that make it worthwhile. We know when the episode, like Randy said something in the Facebook group that I sounded upset last week, and I was like, annoyed. And I was like, okay, well, I want to make sure I don't come across like that all the time, but at the same time, you guys understand like a little bit of passion and emotion, and I really hate dongles.
Yeah.
So we appreciate everyone listening and hanging out, whether you hung out in the Twitch chat or you're listening and sharing the show on your podcast services. And I hope everyone has a great week, and I will have a college freshman by the time you guys listen to me next week.
And just one last thing, it should already be in the feed, but I have a interview going up with the creators of a documentary called Pretending I'm a Superman, the Tony Hawk video game documentary. That should already be in the feed by the time you listen to this as a podcast in your podcast feed, but check that out. It's like 20 minutes, so give that a listen. I'm excited about Tony Hawk. There's a demo coming out, and Dave needs to go to Chipotle for me to give me that demo.
That's what that text message was about.
Yes. Yes.
And if this is your first time listening, we'll link the Tony Hawk podcast link in the descriptions and the show notes, so you guys can check that out. And again, just find us just look at the show notes, and if you're not following or subscribed to any of those things, please consider doing that. Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, our own personal Twitters. Everything you need is in the show notes, so that way you guys don't have to hear me ramble about them. So I hope everyone has a great week. We'll talk to you later.
Don't be a dick. See ya.